give God some praise and be grateful for what He's doing and what He's about to do. Amen. Just give it a few seconds up here and stuff, and we can go ahead and get ready, get started. When that gets going and everything gets open. All right, now we are live. On week before last, we started talking about a subject about choices. And in those choices, we did a wide range of things that could negatively affect us as human beings, us in relationships, us in life, and in everything that we do. One of the things we said up here on a description was that there are a lot of things in our life that can turn toxic. We can make choices and they can turn toxic, or they can turn dysfunctional. We don't choose things for them to just go bad. Sometimes we choose things and hopefully they will be the best for us, or that we can create or get the best out of them. We certainly don't want to go on them and we turn out to be the worst. We don't want to make choices and that thing affects us in a negative way, that we're not the best that we could be or should be. But sometimes what happens in life is that we make choices, whether we make choices off our own passion. That's why the scripture warns us to lean not on our own understanding, but in all things acknowledge the Lord, He'll direct our path. And sometimes it just doesn't happen like that. Sometimes whether we're in a hurry, or whether fear, pain, issues or bondages, or whether we thought that we knew, or whatever it is, and that's not condemning. It's how life is. Sometimes we go in there with our eyes wide open, with our heart wide open, and sometimes with our ears closed. But nevertheless, we make these choices off at least two faculties that's in us. Whether it's just our eyes or just our ears, or whether it's just our heart and just our ears, or whether it's just our mouth or just our ears. But we make these choices, and when we go in these choices, sometimes they turn out in a way that we look and say, man, if I'd have known, if I'd have thought, if I'd have felt, if I'd have understood that it was going to turn out like this, I may not have made this choice. But the choice has been made, and now we're in it. And that's what goes to what we say to ourselves, choice been made, but what next? What do we do now? And one of the things we also say is that this next, or this whatever comes after this choice, there has to be a process of path starts that leads to a next. And that next has to, and as we were saying, it may not be as easy as I'm saying it, or that we say it, or even that you're reading it in the outline. But the bottom line is that a next has to start. Yes. And that next has to lead to somewhere that creates freedom or breakthrough. And one of the things we can think is it may feel hard, it may feel difficult to make that choice, but when you think about it, isn't it harder, or if we come to realize that staying there can create more emotional, mental, and spiritual damage than we would realize. And that's what we're coming to now. That there are people that have gone, whether it be relationships or going through some kind of life experience. I'm gonna let somebody else talk in a minute. I'm just trying to set this thing up. Through life experiences that where we are at a point, or they're at a point, that whatever they went into is not as good as what they thought it was. And so now some people are at the end of it, or some people are trying to come out of it, or some people who have come out of it have realized that something is different about them, that they did not think that some of the things that they were going to go through, or some of the things they choose to do, was going to have this kind of mental and emotional bearings or thing on them. And one of the things I can say is that I'm going to turn it over to Tony, or turn it over to Pastor and stuff, because they think I'm going to sit up here and say all this. I'm not going to talk all. But anyway, one of the things I thought about was that when I chose, and I use this example, but I'm hitting it off this way, when I chose to get to know my Rolling Stone father, I didn't realize how much I had to deal with in that choice. I thought it was going to be fine going in there to get to know him. I thought everything was going to be okay. But when we started engaging, interacting, he started setting or take a father's position. I wasn't ready to take a son's position. And so I was willing to challenge inside what he was trying to do as a father and stuff. And all the time that we were going through, in life, the times that we were separated, I didn't hear anything from him. I thought I was doing okay. I thought everything was fine. I made a choice to be healthy by myself, and that works for some people. And so I'm not saying it doesn't work for some people. Some people, when they choose to make a difference or stand separate from the things that would be normal in other people's lives, or would be normal in life if it was healthy, and stuff, some people seem to function well. I thought I was functioning well until all of a sudden that dynamic started to come back into my life, and I realized, as I said one time in another message, I was more bitter than I thought I was. And sometimes, y'all, we can go through experiences, we can go through some things that turn dysfunctional, turn toxic, and we come out of them. And we think that we come out of them and we bring all of ourselves out of them and stuff. And we do bring a part out of us that feel like all of us, but that part after a while that shows up that we thought was all of us is something that's detrimental and can be damaging to everything else that we do in life and stuff. And this includes our children, includes the things that we involve ourselves as far as the work of the Lord, work in life, dealing with other people and stuff, in other relationships and stuff. So we have to think about these things as we decide, as we look at our life, we look at the relationships that we're in, we look at the work that we're doing, we look at the things that we are engaged with, the people that we're engaged with. We have to think to ourselves, is this beneficial for me? And if I do decide to come out of this, what am I coming out with? Or how am I coming out of this? How am I going to be when I'm finished with this? When all the toxicity, or the person that's influencing toxicity, I'm trying to use that word. And so when I push that person aside, I relieve myself in that person, how am I then? What kind of person am I? And this is important. I think, listen, we spent a lot of time in church trying to define ministry with people who are too unhealthy to really carry out ministry. You see people, come on, can we be real about something? You see people standing up in the pulpit that have this is just as many issues as you sitting in the seat. But the reason why they get away with it is because they got a message. And it looks like they're okay. But they go home and manifest the same kind of dysfunctions you did. And they don't know, and sometimes they don't know where and how. How can I come out of this dysfunctional personal behavior that I have, and who can I go to? And so then you have someone that's in a relationship, and we talked about this on week before last. You have someone that's in a relationship. Some people know this relationship, know it's not functional. They know it's toxic. They know the person that they're with is abusive at some level. I'm not always talking physical. There's more than one kind of abusive. They're abusive at some level. And please don't misunderstand me. I'm not. Do I go looking at that thing again? Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not just talking about men being abusive. There are some hard women out there. There are some women that are angry, bitter, and vicious. So I'm talking on both sides. But at every level, there are some women that can say words that can cut you just like a man can say words that can cut you.
That's true.
But the bottom line is this: here you are now. We talked about you coming out. We talked about you making decisions so you can be functional. So you won't be you won't be a victim anymore. But what do you like when you come out? What is your mindset? We say, and the scriptures are true, those who keep their mind on Jesus, on God, on the Lord, He'll keep them in perfect peace. But how about that one who has so much invested in them from a toxic, dysfunctional relationship that no matter how much they try to keep themselves on the Lord, they always draw back to the dysfunction they once came out of? How about the person that can't keep a job? And it's not because they don't want to work, because they can't stay functional on a job. Because everybody that comes around them to try to get in their circle to make them more comfortable on their job, they don't trust. All because all these things that when they chose to do something, when they chose something they thought they could trust, it turned out dysfunctional. So now here we have a person that's broken and trying to work like they're whole. So how do we now go forward? How do we now help this person get their world back together again? This is what we want to talk about on tonight. How do we allow this person who's trying to function, well, not just that, but here we have this person who's come out of this relationship and stuff. They sacrificed all they can. I want to put this in. We're going to talk backwards on this a little bit too. They were a good parent and stuff. Child was affected though, in some degree, but they were a good parent and stuff. And they came out the relationship. They did all they could to hover over the child and make sure the child didn't get poisoned by what they were being poisoned by emotionally and mentally. And then they came out and stuff, and they're just skating through life. They're not really engaging and attached to anything. They're afraid of too much closeness. They're afraid of too much engaging and stuff. They're cautious about everything. They're cautious even about their own feelings and stuff. And to be honest, if you ask them if they trust their own feelings, they really don't trust their own feelings. Everybody seems to have an agenda, and I don't mean to use the word paranoid, but it's something that comes along with this package. Whether we want to accept it or not. Am I right? Something that comes along with this package. We don't want it when you come out of these kind of toxic, dysfunctional relationships, and you try your best just to survive either whether it's because you want your children to survive through, or whether you're just trying to survive so you have a mindset to know what to do next and stuff. After you come out of this, it's like you're looking always behind your back to find out what's the next toxic thing that's going to try to take over my life. And toxicity, gosh, I got the word out smooth, doesn't always come out with a sign on its forehead, poison if you drink it. Amen? Okay, what now? Any questions or statements or going forward? Oh Lord Jesus! If I know this, bro, I'd have sat back there. If I know they gonna leave me out here like this. All right, okay.
Now, you're talking about coming out of sometimes toxic relationships, and you don't know exactly what you're looking at. You know, you got to. Sometimes you can lose yourself in the relationship, and you know that it's not you, and people around you know that it's not you. You know, there was a situation one time in the schools where the situation. Well, I shouldn't have said that. That was a situation that was going on where a child had to deal with some things, and the biggest thing that they had to deal with was, where's mommy? You know, I want my old mommy back. You know, and how do you bring back the old mommy so that the child can understand, okay, it's safe now. You know,
Right.
you're not going to lose mommy again. You
Right.
know, the child is always going to be a little bit fearful that they're going to lose mommy again because of the toxicity of the relationship that she was in. And when it's toxic like that, it's not just toxic for the mother, it's also toxic for the children.
Absolutely.
And the mother many times knows how to handle it or how to get help and how to maybe even to put into words what they're feeling. But a lot of times children can't put into words what they're feeling. They just know that there's something different going on with mommy. And I don't know how to help mommy, you know, because, you know, granted, most of the time it's the boys, but girls too. The first thing they want to do is rescue mommy. But it comes to a point where they can't rescue mommy. I see mommy upset. I see mommy crying. I see mommy sad. I don't know what's going on with mommy. How can I help mommy? I want old mommy back, you know.
Right.
There's those are some of the things that we're looking at, you know, and trying to figure out, okay, how can we help that situation?
You know, some may look, and some may not. Some may say, y'all, why is this important that you all would use a Wednesday to talk about this? And the reason why I felt this was most important, or this was important to deal with, is that we've got too many people playing healthy in church, and they're not. I looked at, I was running down statistics about, and this thing hit me when I realized that there's 60-some% of kids ages 5 to 17 that are full of depression and anxiety. That means you got fifth graders sitting up in school.
Dealing with depression.
Fifth graders all down sit up in school dealing with depression and anxiety. You got them sitting up there going there, and then we wonder to ourselves, why is it that America is falling behind in achievements as far as school is concerned? How can you concentrate on something when your mind is full of worry, anxiety, and a whole lot of other things? And then while you're trying to deal with life as a child, you have to go home, and sometimes your mom and dad is dysfunctional. Sometimes their relationship is toxic. Sometimes mom is broken. Sometimes dad is broken. Or sometimes you got a family where it's just one parent in the house and they're broken. And so now what the child has to do is somehow measure this out and see how they can survive in life and stuff, and not lose their parent, not lose themselves, and be successful. Because mom sometimes, or dad sometimes, whoever it is that's in this toxicity and stuff, all they want to do is, I want my child to do better than I'm doing. And so they're trying to push the child, and the child is saying, I'm sinking like you're sinking, but you're in another pool. And so why we think this is important, and why I kind of push this, is because I was talking to Tony, and she was talking about her experiences and stuff, and it just clicked in my mind. There are a lot of women and men out there that have gone through or have gone through relationships, and they are on the path of next, but they don't know what that next means. They're sitting around and they're having these pressures in their head. They're having these thoughts of. I was talking to a young man, and he was depressed, and he was talking about how many times he was thinking about killing himself. I forgot who I was talking to, and was praying for how this I don't know if it was this young lady or something, and they were saying, it was during the service, they was giving prayer, and they talked about, I know it was, and it was talking about how many times it ran through their mind to kill themselves, and they tried it twice. They tried it twice, and stuff, and part of it is the wrestling of dysfunction and all these things that pressures life that sometimes you get into that turn back. Their life was set up well. Some things happen, and we use the word threw a Mickey. It threw a Mickey in their life and stuff. And I'm not talking about people who are walking up down the street. I'm talking about people that come to church. I'm talking about Christians who are wrestling with this depression, this anxiety, and stuff, where things have become toxic and things have become dysfunctional. And so we're sitting in church and we're just throwing oil on people, but we're not fighting and warfaring for the mindset. So when they say they believe something, it goes deeper than from their mouth. And that's why I felt that this is important, because yes, when young ladies come to the church, when young men come to the church, and children come to church and they give their life to the Lord, we want to be to gradually bring all of them to the altar. Not just a part of them where they're running away from something and not running to something. We want them to be to run to something, and that something be able to take them in, and they'll be able to take that something that they're running to in. And so again, we have people that's just surviving. They're just on the outside of not knowing what next. And that's why we want to try, with the Lord's help, to give us some answers. Because I believe, y'all, I'm sorry, I believe church is more than just taking up an offering. I believe church is more than just those services are good. We just had a women's service on Sunday. Those kind of services are good. Stuff. Those other whatever kind of service you want to call them, rainbow, light, moon, sun, whatever services you want to have, they're okay. I don't mind those, but it's not good if you bring people in church to just celebrate over an event and stuff, and they can't celebrate over their life. I believe our job is, let's bring some light, let's bring some understanding that there is a next for you. And whatever you went through, whatever choices you made, that really has your life in a dungeon right now, and you feel like you're caged and stuff, there is a next after that. God creates a next. God gives us a tomorrow. He gives us, matter of fact, he says we're not consumed because his grace, his love for us, all that's wrapped in one is renewed every morning. He said, and this is the reason why we're not consumed. God wants to give us that bright day. Matter of fact, he said in John 10:10, he came to give us life and that more abundantly. So God wants to give us this fresh start. He wants to give us this start over. But let's deal with the whole human being. Let's not just come up here and shout and hope that things change when you can't bring everything in you inside of it and stuff. And that's why I feel that this is most important. Any questions before we go on? Okay. Anything you wanna bring up? Okay. Go ahead. Guess what? Okay, I'm trying to work my way around that. My mind going through. I'm trying to get back to that stuff. But one of the things is we are concerned with the mental capacity and mental makeup of people that go through here. But let me show you something. I'm gonna read some things to you. Everybody okay? Mm-hmm. Whether we realize it or not, the relationship or lack thereof between our parents or a person that our parents are dating subconsciously informs how we negatively or navigate dating and relationships as an adult. We think that sometimes our kids are so they can bounce back so quickly that we can go through bad relationship after bad relationship, bad experience after bad experience, and they can experience this, or they can see it, and it doesn't bother them. But our children, they invest in our emotional makeup, and they watch how we deal with things, and it inevitably create their navigation on how they deal with relationships and how they deal with encounters. Yeah. Sometimes we wonder to ourselves, why do our child? Now some are just bad. You know, sometimes we wonder to our child, why is that child always going to school punching on somebody? You know, they're kicking on somebody, punching on somebody. Well, sometimes they're home and all mom and dad do is scream, holler, kick. Sometimes it's not always that case. Sometimes the family line stuff we have to deal with. Yeah, being honest. But then we wonder, why is that child has such an aggressive behavior? Well, if that child's always experiencing that's the way mom and dad, or mom and some significant other, or dad and some significant other, if they're in that setting and they see that's how they deal with stuff, guess what that child does? That child goes to school and mimics that same behavior. That child's going to watch how we do stuff, how we navigate through relationships, and that child is going to emulate the behavior. All right? Let me move on. Below there are some ways we read some ways that our relationship habits can influence our children. Number one, our willingness to accept abusive behavior. Now I want to ask you a question before we go into that, because I think sometimes as a norm, when we start thinking about abusive behavior, what do we think about? What's the first thing that comes to mind? Physical. Somebody knocks them out the head. And when we take abusive in its general term, it's not just physical. No. It's how you do physically. It's what you neglect emotionally. It's what you do with your words. It's what you don't do with your words and stuff. Anything that takes something from something or denies somebody something is abuse. Amen. Let me read this. Growing up in a toxic or abusive household affects children in a lot of ways, including in how they will view their own relationships as they grow up. Amen? As awful as it is, being a victim or a witness of abuse between your parents or someone that they are dating, this can cause children to normalize abuse in their own relationship. You know how some child may go to school and stuff, and if they don't get their way, they realize mom and dad does the same thing, but they don't get their way. All they do is holler. So you got a child that's in school and stuff, and they can't get their way, and all they do is holler. Or if they're in the line and stuff, and the line's not moving fast enough, they're pushing somebody. Or they're always trying to get at the front of the line and stuff because they feel they don't need to wait their turn. See, our lack of discipline, our lack of control, our lack of dealing with toxic behavior or abuse and stuff causes our children to be affected. And I guarantee you, our children in some way is going to mock or mimic this behavior. Amen? Any questions? You know how when somebody say something and they're talking low and you just, Listen to this. Individuals who have parents fight in front of them and who use abusive language may be more prone to following the pattern or even accept this form of those that, I'm sorry, slow down, Pastor. Individuals who have parents fighting in front of them and who use abusive language may be more prone to follow in this pattern or even accept this from those that come into their life. And sometimes, you know what the strange thing about this is? That sometimes there are people who go through this. They don't come all the way out, or they stay in and just survive. Their children grow up, and their children follow the same pattern or accept their abusive behavior. And now their parent wonders why their child won't fight for themselves, why their child won't talk up for themselves, why their child won't try to create a better atmosphere for themselves in school, or why they hang around people that want to dominate them, why they're not a leader but they're a follower. And somebody never look back and do an evaluation. The reason why your child's like this is because you taught them that this is the best way to get along. That you don't ruffle any feathers. You don't tell somebody when they're doing you wrong. You don't tell somebody when, don't say that to me. Don't do that to me. That's not the way I want to be treated. And stuff. Then our children grow up and we're mad because our child accepts that same kind of behavior at another level of a relationship. When we have not stood up for our own rights or allowed ourselves or made it clear how we should be treated. Amen? Any questions? Okay, here we go. Number 2, the way we handle conflict resolution. One of the most important components of a successful relationship is the ability to resolve conflicts in a healthy way. But if the example of conflict resolution you grew up with included a lot of yelling, you might be prone to follow, or the child may be prone to follow in the parent's footsteps. Okay, let me move on just a little bit. Everybody all right? I'm trying to get to a place I can get these two in here. So I'm trying to look for something to push them in. Amen. Pastor over here talking about doing all right because she over here. I don't know. Oh, here we go. Maybe this. I don't know. But we do. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna get there. No questions? Now here we go. Picking up. There is a point in all of in everything that we do in our life where we have to decide, do we stay, do we move on? And then in it, as we started out on last week, we said this on last week, there has to be a thing in all of our life. I don't care what you're in. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care what part, whether it's good or whether it's bad. I don't care if it's something that, and I don't mean to use the word, doesn't matter if it's something that's been working for a lifetime. Somewhere in the activities of these things, we have to decide, okay, is it time to move on, or is it time to fight for where I'm at? Can I pull something out of where I'm at? Is it something that I can use if I use this to move on? Or is it something that is so dysfunctional or out of season or out of time that I need to move on? And that's where our mental capacity to move on or after we move on is built up or made stronger because, what's wrong, y'all? It's built up because we make a decision in this, what we do next.
Right.
And stuff. So, Tony, in your experiences and stuff, when some of the things that you were saying you were going through, what made your mindset, not just the decision to move to a healthier setting, not just a decision to change the setting that you're in, but what mindset did you have to gather in order to say, I'm going to make this step to move forward? And then after you made these steps to move forward, what kept you from losing your mind? And I don't mean to say that sarcastically, but I mean it because, you know, the whole dynamics thing of the thing changed. You were in a marriage or in a relationship, and now all of a sudden you have to make a quick choice, and you're no longer in that relationship. You're no longer connected.
I'm not in a relationship, and I'm also homeless.
Wow.
And I'm also pregnant.
Wow.
So I had to make a lot of decisions really fast. First to find a home. First to make sure I'm okay when I have my kid. I didn't have a car. I had a part-time job.
Wow.
I had to figure out how to pay for the place I was in. I was living in a motel. I had to figure out how to pay for that weekly. Figure out how we get a house. Figure out how we're going to eat. Figure out how I'm going to take care of this kid. And then there's a relationship that's breaking. So I had to prioritize, and at the time, that outside wasn't important anymore.
Right.
So the things that was important took higher priority. And so when the big thing, like I got a home, that was taken care of, then it was okay for me to have my kid because I was in a home.
Right.
Then I got a better job, so then that's okay. And then I could focus on this. And
Right.
at the time when I was ready to focus on this, I kind of lost my motivation
Right. Now here's the thing.
What's your motivation for what?
to fight for it. Then I was like, well, I've done all this. Why do I need to fight for that? Because this out here didn't help me get all this
The
together.
relationship didn't.
Right, so why do I need to fight for that now?
Right. Here's the thing. You know, here you are. You're moving from where you were in a relationship that had pseudo support. It wasn't really anything that was motivating any kind of access to themselves to being in support. But you got a home. You could have a child and stuff, and you felt like you were on the right path. Okay, what kept you thinking going forward that did not make it that the enemy or the situation couldn't pull you back to say, well, maybe now I got a house, I got a job. Maybe if I bring them back and we start to work on something, this may be what we need to go forward and be healthy.
There's nothing that stopped me because honestly, in between that, yes, I was thinking it, but I just didn't have the time to put the effort into that. Which thankfully, I'm glad I didn't
Right.
because if I did, I would.
Right.
But
Okay.
it was just so many other things that took priority that I focused on.
Right.
That helped me to not.
Wow.
Just to be
Wow.
honest.
Right.
And looking back, do you think you said you're glad you didn't?
I'm glad I didn't. Right. Because if I did have the time, I probably would have tried to bring that in, and it would have been messed up again. I mean, it happened
Right.
before. Like it
Right.
wasn't the first time I was homeless.
Right.
Homeless before, found a home, and then allowed that situation to come back in and work on it, and then ended up homeless again.
Wow, wow. One of the things I do, I'm glad you brought that point up. And the reason why I'm glad you brought that point up because there are a lot of them out there who made this mistake 3 or 4 times. And it has affected a lot of things in their life, and they may be feeling guilty, may be feeling condemned, they may hold their heads down because they thought about, well, maybe if I had made a clear cut when I first walked out or when we first separated, that maybe I wouldn't have had these other baggage that I have now. But there's still a next. Even though you may have made the choice to try to work it out when you made the situation better and stuff, it's still a next when you finally realize that no matter how good you make the situation or how much better you make the situation for the both of you, if both doesn't come in to want to make the situation better and work at the better situation, it's still going to go back to the same place. So I like that because all of us, we want to do what we can to rescue something. We all do. There's things that we whether we stay too long at a job or whether we stay too long again in a relationship or whether we stay too long in a developing relationship and stuff, we don't want to go in nothing and fail. But the bottom line is that there are some things in life that will fail. There are some things that just will not work out. We don't go in, again, I can't say this enough, we don't go in practicing. What are you saying? I'm not trying to make it easy to give up on something. But what I'm trying to say is when you realize that you're in something that is given up on you and there's no function in this and it's become toxic and dysfunctional, it's time now to make a choice to be better. I don't care what it is in life. We talk about relationships, but if you look at the beginning, we talk about whether it's in relationships, we talk about in life, we talk about in jobs, we talk about anything that you do. If that thing is causing more toxicity in your life than it's causing benefits, it's time to make a choice. And so you can get a certain kind of car and stuff, and when you didn't have enough money to keep it fixed in the shop, you traded it or sold it off. Then when you got a better job, got more money, you go get that same car or work on that same car, and it brings you right back to the same place of poverty. There are sometimes we have to make a clean break from something and go forward. So here's the
Get
thing.
out of that treadmill and step to another
Absolutely.
level.
Now, here's another thing. When we make a clean break, especially from relationships where there's children involved, there's a chance that we not only can break away from the person that the relationship is toxic in, there's a chance that also that there's a breaking between the children and that person that you have that's in. What was the fear or what was the apprehension of thoughts that went through your mind, and that can, if we're not careful, that can still go through our minds when you say, okay, if I walk out of this, if I make a clean break, there can be a chance that the children may not have a father. There'll be a chance that the father may not want no part in these children's life. And so, how much of a draw or a fear or apprehension, if you ever thought about it, did that might have had? And I mean, I'm not saying you thought, but that's just the question.
I mean, I know it's a natural fear and apprehension with everybody, but in my situation, it wasn't because I was the only parent anyway.
Right.
Even
Okay.
though he was in the house,
Right.
I was the only parent.
Right.
So I realized even if you're in a household and you're not the only parent, I know you're not being in a household, you're not going to be a parent. So
Right.
that wasn't really a thought of mine. My thought was making sure that they were okay, my kids.
Mhm.
That was my only concern. It's
Right.
not, when it's done and over with, I'll be honest, I don't care about their feelings. I
Right.
care about them and making sure they're okay.
You know, one of the things you said, and this, I think this is one of the things that those who have to make these decisions to move on can get some solace from, and that is that, you know, if you're in a relationship, and in that relationship, whether you're seeing a man that you have children by, you're not married to them, or you're seeing a man that you have children by and you're married to them, whatever situation is, you have to make a choice to better your life, to move on to your life, and make your spiritual situation better as well, and stuff. But you have to move on. That you decide to move on and stuff, and you think to yourself, if I move on and stuff, what position does that put my children in? And then you have to look at, okay, what position is this relationship put your children in? You know, what benefit is this to your whole house, to your whole home? You're not just your children, but yourself going forward. What benefit is this to you? If you can't pull anything out of that except something that you want to see in the future, it's a sad thing. If the only thing you can pull out of that is something that you can see in the future, but you haven't had any evidence in the now that it can come from the future, then you have to rethink your thinking. Because you can't keep saying what you want to see in the future if you work to make the situation better, or if you keep drawing on a relationship when you have no evidence now that is something that you can see in the future. And so all these things that we put in measure to rescue, save our home, and so yes, children have to come in an equation, but make sure you put them in the right place in an equation, and stuff. But don't let them be a crutch to the choices or against the choices that you have to make. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes some people may say, well, I'm not going to leave this man, I'm not going to leave this woman because I don't want my children to not have a mom or not have a dad. Well, they don't have neither one if you stay in a dysfunctional relationship, because it's going to eat up both of you.
Amen.
It's going to consume both of you. So somewhere down the line, both of you or one of you have to make the choice. We're going to have to survive for our children's tomorrow, not for our relationship tomorrow, because our relationship's not functional. We're going to have to survive for our children's tomorrow, because that's the only thing right now that matters, that comes from us, that what we are involved in, that's the only thing that matters, is that we will survive for our children's tomorrow. And so again, choices are not easy. They're not always something that we just all willy-nilly jump into, but it's something we have to decide based on how do we make the most healthy self of me. So how do I make the most healthy self of me? And stuff, because I'm not going to be any good for anybody else if I'm not a healthy me. Any questions before we move on? Okay. Any questions? I thought you had a question for Tony. So Tony?
Well, the question that I would have for Tony is, okay, in your decision to move on and to, just step out of the situation,
I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
step out of the situation, I know a lot of things was going through your mind. Can I do this? Will I, if I step up and say, okay, this is it, will I buckle? Because so many times people do buckle and go back in it, and then, it winds up even worse. And then in the midst of all of that, you're dragging your children back and forward, in and out of this. What kind of effect do you think it will have on the children? Continue to have inconsistency, in and out, in and out, in and out. You didn't do that.
I did with my first two. I feel like I did. I was in and out a lot of times with my first two. I felt really bad with them too, because we was here, we was there, we was here, we was there, because I couldn't make up my mind what I wanted to do. I buckled every time. But I guess.
So what? That you let them get in your head?
I guess I let them get in my head, but use the word toxicity. Sometimes toxicity is addictive. Like that's what you become used to.
Okay.
And that's what you accept, and so
Right,
you're
right.
going to go back to it because it's addictive.
I
You
like
can't get away
what you're
from it.
saying there, that it can be addictive.
It can be
toxic.
addictive.
Yes.
It can be addictive even when you break away from it and you try to move on to something else and you don't see that.
Right.
You'll say it's the wrong thing because
Right.
it's not what you're used to, even though it may be the right thing.
How do you feel when people are trying to counsel you
Mhm.
in that area and you can't see what they're seeing? You know, you think they're picking on you or
Yeah, I feel untrusting. I feel like they're looking down on me. I feel like they don't know what I'm going through. They just don't want to see me happy.
or they just don't like that person.
You know.
Okay. I'm just
Yeah.
And it could be in other incidents you didn't feel like that, but there's sometimes where people who are in toxic or dysfunctional relationships where someone is trying to counsel them and they're saying, and they
You
may
just
think
don't
that
like
you
them.
just don't like
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah, and you're saying all of that. So right away you gonna put on blinders because you feel like, well, you're already, against
Biased.
them. Yeah, already, biased, and so I'm not gonna hear anything that you have to say because you just don't like them from the jump.
Right.
Can I ask a question? I want you to finish that statement. And I want to ask that question. I want us to, if we can interact. If I don't know if you've ever known anybody or anybody has ever known somebody that's been in a bad relationship or been in a relationship that was dysfunctional, and someone is trying to give them information, and in all actuality, the person trying to give them information to come out of the relationship really doesn't like the person they're in a relationship with. That can be a reality. You can be in a relationship with somebody, and the person that's trying, whether it be a parent or whether it be a friend,
Yeah.
whether it be a cousin,
Yeah.
uncle, nephew,
Or your bestest.
or your best somebody. You can be in a relationship and stuff. And if you have any opinions on this, or if anybody want to, now we can engage. How should we look at this information, or should we just look at the person that's giving us the information and not look at the information that the person's giving us, knowing that the person's giving this information and stuff, and they don't like the person that you're with? Legal. Okay.
I had two sides. One was kind of like, well, the person didn't like him because I kind of started telling them stuff I was going to. And secondly, it was taken away from their time. So when I told them stuff, it was like, that was a big mistake because then when I was telling someone else then things were okay, they didn't want to hear it when things were okay. But then when things weren't, they would always just give me their opinion anyway because they felt like that person would take away from them time because they was always used to be on me anyway.
Okay.
So every time I would talk to them about something, it was always negative because they're taking away from my time.
Right. Right. Now,
So you wasn't trying to listen to them.
No.
You brought up a point that I think we need to kind of jump on a little bit, and that is sometimes we can be in a bad relationship, the relationship is toxic, and we'll find a friend or find a family, and we'll go talk to them about it. Here's the misunderstanding sometimes that we have about it. You're going to go tell a friend, family or friend how somebody is not doing you right, and you really expect them to like it.
Right.
Wow.
You see, you know, see what I'm saying? You see the
And I
odd thing
like
about
that.
that? I'm gonna go.
And they gonna have nothing good to
No,
say.
no.
You
I
know.
have no opinion at all.
Right. You know, you going to them and saying, look, I'm dating this man or I'm dating this woman and stuff, and you telling your friend, parent, or whatever good friend, and look, they just ain't treat me right. They just ain't no good and stuff. And that parent in the back of their mind said, when I get out, people tell me to leave.
Right.
They're not saying them right hand. And then you expect, when you come back after a while, you said, and when everything's fine, I'm going to tell you something. You know what I'm telling you about?
See?
Everything is fine.
Ooh.
You use 5 words to explain the relationship when it's going good, and 300,000 words when it's going bad. So you expect them to flush those 300,000 words down the toilet with those
No.
3 words that you say is
No.
going good. Well, the bottom line is, you done made them not like them. Now you expect your 3 words to make them like them again because you said they treat you well. So they may not say nothing after a while and stuff. They're going to wait for the next time you come back, you know, flipped over and said, man, here they are, that dog acting doggish now, or she ain't doing it now, and stuff. And now when they say to you, you ought just leave them. Now you're mad.
Right.
Now all the 300,000 words that made them come to that conclusion, you expect those 3 words to make them not say you or not to leave them. So here's the thing I think we need to understand. If you give me enough evidence, I said this one time. I said this one time. I said, it's not that I don't like a person. It's not that. I don't like the person. It's just you got to give me evidence to not dislike you. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about hate to go to hell. I'm talking about.
No.
Let me use. Can I use a real, for real, not for real, but an example? Like say, my daughter was dating somebody, and I didn't, and the situation of the things I felt they should do, they didn't do, and stuff. My problem is I'm not gonna not like them. I'm just not gonna have anything to want to like them, to want to trust them. I don't need you to just show up and say, you know, I'm the man that's gonna take them to the future. I need to find out, I need to find out what kind of man you are in the future, because I'm gonna figure out what you are right now. And so if I say if you were dating somebody or Talisha was dating somebody and stuff, I didn't have enough evidence to push them forward. I'm not encouraging you in that relationship. No, and I don't have anything against. I don't have any. If they were dating somebody and I saw them, guess what I'm gonna do? How you doing? Yes, I'm gonna speak. But if that person asked me, if they were dating somebody, that person asked me, what do you think about me with your daughter? I wish you weren't.
Yeah.
If they ask me, so why do you think that? I said, because you haven't given me any evidence to wish you were. And doesn't mean, does that sound like I hate him?
No.
Does that sound like I hate him? No, I'm not saying I hate you. Oh, Lord.
But see, you being honest.
I'm joking.
You being honest with your feelings.
You saying yeah?
I'm joking.
Oh. No, I'm not hating you. I'm not hating. No.
I don't hate you.
Right.
But I don't like you for my daughter.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, I ain't saying that.
What I'm saying is, if they haven't showed showed you something to like, what?
That's the honest opinion, though.
I'm just being honest.
Yes.
Okay. What was you supposed to say?
Huh?
You say to them, I like you, you're okay, but right now you haven't showed me what, as a mother, I'm looking for, or I would like to see with somebody that's in a relationship with my daughter.
Okay,
because every parent raises their children up to be somebody special.
Right.
And you think your children is somebody special. And that person that's dating them, you want them to treat them like they're somebody special.
Absolutely.
And if they're not treating them like they're somebody special, that's a problem.
Absolutely.
You
Okay,
know?
I can handle what you said like that. What you said is why I go kind of strong. Yes.
And another part of mine, not saying they're wrong because as the person who they were totally right, but then I learned that I'm not telling them nothing else because even if we weren't talking about that situation, sometimes we were talking about something else, and then they would get mad and they would throw up something I said to make me feel cheesy or bad because they were mad about something else. So they was like, well, you got mad because such. So I gotta say, I ain't talking about nothing else.
And see, that's some of the things that when you're going through a dysfunctional relationship and you're sharing with people, some of the things you forget is you forgot what you said and stuff. We're trying to carry on a relationship. They're witnessing you carry on this relationship, but you don't least out 300,000 words of how bad that person is, and now you want to come. And one of the worst things to do is that you're gonna spend all that time down on them. They don't, and they're gonna buy you a ice cream cone, and then you come back celebrating like this bought your car, and you want this person to jump on with
They
you.
want the person to flip like you
Yes.
said. Yeah.
You come and have and say, look, he bought me ice cream cone and it's melting. Yeah, I know he bought me ice cream cone. And you want the person.
Flowers.
Yes. Now you want this person, oh man, that ice cream cone. But how about all the stuff that you said
All that
that
other
they
stuff,
did?
yeah.
And stuff, and we do, and you know what? I'm not justifying either, you see what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, we got to expect what we hand out somehow is going to come back to talk to us, especially when you're trying to talk to people who love you, who care about you, who want the best for you and stuff. And when they're in that situation, they're not, what in the world going on with you? You get some prayer after this, Lord, touch it in Jesus' name and stuff, but I don't know. But those things are going to come back to us. And stuff. So here we are, Tony, we're in this relationship. You're out of it and stuff, and time is going by. There's no chance that this person is going to come back in your life, and that's how some people are. And I'm not saying just women, because men have to. There's some toxic relationships that men can be in that have to make up in their mind. I can't do this.
I can't do this.
I cannot do this. So here you are down the road. You realize, okay, that's the best decision I can ever make for my life and stuff. So I'm moving forward and stuff. But what is it that you have to keep doing, or that you had to do to get to a point where it no longer strung any strings in your mental capacity? You know what I mean? It didn't take up any space in your mind, because no matter how much we try to escape, there's three things that's always going to remind you that was there, that this relationship was there and stuff. And sometimes it's even how they act. The behavior that they have and stuff will always remind you. So what is it that you have to do? What would you encourage women or men that have to have to survive with memories, and not memories of I was in this relationship, but memories what happened because of the relationship. You see what I'm saying?
I guess just have to keep reminding myself that it's better without that other part. A lot of times I can say, well, yeah, there was a lot of times where I could say I was happy, it was fine. But then there was when it was really bad, it was really bad.
Right.
So I have to remind myself of those really, really bad times, and do I want to go back to that? Because it's going to go back to that.
Right.
I guess that's basically it.
But okay, so let's hit this then. What part of it? And I'm gonna use this word. I'm just use this word because I want you to build this. What part of this of when you get to a part where you stop saying, "I was stupid, I was crazy," what was going through my mind? Because see, we all whether it's this kind of situation or the other situation that we name where we make some terrible mistakes, we think to ourselves, "God, I was stupid." And after a while, we keep telling ourselves that, especially when we go through some hard times, we go through some struggles, or anything that stirs up where it looks like we have to make a choice if we're not trusting our choice, or trust the choices that we made to be where we're at. So what? And you may not have experienced where you looked at yourself and said, "It's like thinking."
Actually, the other day I was looking at my phone and I was looking for a message and I was like searching, and some of our messages came up.
Wow.
And I read some, and I was like, I cannot believe some of the things that I said. Like I read it like somebody else was writing it. I was like, what in the world was wrong with you? Why were you saying that? Why were you asking those things? So I don't know if it's wrong to say that I was stupid back then and I was out of my mind. I don't feel that way about myself now.
Right.
I was out of my mind because I wasn't myself.
But that's what yes. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you up. When we do make mistakes, one thing we don't want to do is make that a noun. I'm not silly like I was when I did what I did. That didn't make sense. I'm not gonna call myself stupid now. I made choices to come from it. But when I look back at, I don't know if anybody else does, when I look back at some choices that I made, I'd be thinking to myself, what in the world was I thinking about? What was going through my head when I was making this decision? And then the crazy thing, and this one can give you a headache, what was I thinking? And then if you're not careful, you try to take yourself back to what you were thinking, and it gives you a headache because you're trying to figure out, how did I let this get past my good sense? Yo, no matter how silly we were back there, we still had good sense even then.
Because we would tell other people right things.
Oh yeah.
We would tell them, you need to do this, you need to do that. But when it came to your doorstep,
Right. Or even, and here's even thing that makes you want to just kick your heels up at your own self is that sometimes you can be making a bad decision, and you can look at other people in that bad decision, and you can tell them they ought not make that bad decision, or not make that decision. And sometimes either while you're in it, but you can't see yourself making that same decision.
But you know why you can do that? Because say if it's somebody you care about, you don't want them to feel what you're feeling.
Right.
Even because you know you can't get out of it. You
Right.
don't want them to get in that situation where
Right.
they can't get out of it, where they're feeling what you're feeling.
Right.
That's what that is.
But let's hit this thing, this issue. Now, you're saying, and I agree. You're saying, but here's the but behind it. You're saying I see. I don't care about Sister Brian, but let me see Sister Brian. I mean, Sister Brother Xavier. Nah, Brother Xavier going through stuff. I done chose this woman, and she beating up on me and stuff, and she hitting up on me and everything. And she run the mailman and the
Lord,
milkman,
Jesus.
and we only have the milkman coming by.
Oh,
So
my God.
she go to Lowe's Dairy and go get it herself. She run that by. Yeah, Lehigh. She's stealing money. We ain't got no license now. She claimed that the electric company messing up on the
You
bill.
ought to leave her.
Machine. And I mean, she just messed me up and stuff. She doing bad stuff. And I see Xavier getting in that same kind of relationship.
Yeah.
And I tell Xavier, man, you don't need to get involved in that. You don't need to get involved in it. You need to cut it. Now my question is this. The reason why I use that example is it always that I don't want him to feel what I'm feeling, or is it that I see what it's doing to him, but I don't feel that impact on me? Can I be so can I be so numb? Yes, or I can be so numb to my situation that I can say you can't handle it, but I can. I'm going through this and stuff, and it's not killing me, but Xavier, and it might kill you. So I don't want you to go through it.
For me, no.
Right.
No,
I'm not saying with you. I'm just asking in general.
I don't really think so. I can only speak for myself.
Right.
I don't know. But for me, if I was in that situation, the numb word that you use is I'm numb in my own situation.
Right.
I'm numb where I can't move because I don't know which way to go.
Okay.
I'm stuck and I feel like everything that I'm dealing with is something that at the time I feel like I deserve because I don't
Right.
feel like I'm good enough to get
Wow.
anywhere else.
Wow.
So I
Wow.
see someone outside of me that I don't want them to feel
Right.
the same way. So I'm going to try to do everything possible
Right.
so they don't go down there.
So, right, and I totally agree. Again, carrying out that numbness, though, there are some who are in that relationship that can tell other people or warn them not to go into certain relationships. And if you tell them, you in the same thing, they may look at you and say, "No, mine's different. Mine not like yours."
Yeah.
Mine.
I would probably get defensive then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they turned it around to me, I probably would be defensive then because then now I have to look at myself.
Right.
Something I don't want to do.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I would get defensive then.
Wow. Wow.
Well, you were saying that you felt like you wasn't worthy.
Mhm.
Is it something that you said to yourself, or you felt like you grew in that, or was it a behavior that the other person was showing
It was
to
from
you?
behaviors of the other person. Like if it's infidelities, you feel like, well, what's wrong with me?
Mhm.
So you start to feel like, okay, well, they're out here with this type of person, and I'm this type of person.
Mhm.
Maybe I need to be like that, but I'm
Mhm.
not. So now I'm not good enough. So what do I need to do to make myself good enough?
So it was like they would go out and be with somebody that
It's not like me at all.
not like you at all,
Mhm.
but that's okay. And so that would make you feel like, okay, then why would you choose
But
that
see,
type
then
of
this is
person?
the gaslighting thing because you're out here with
I'm
this
glad you said
person,
that, yeah.
and then you come back, you're the greatest woman in the world.
Okay.
You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The best wife in the world. You're
Yeah.
this, you're this, you're this, but you're out here doing this. So what's
Yes.
the problem? What is
Yes.
it that I need to do to make myself better so you're not out here doing this? So I'm racking my brain, losing my mind, losing my self-esteem because I don't feel like I'm good enough or worthy.
And, the breaking of this kind of extreme dysfunction or toxicity is that you can be the best person you can be towards them, and they will always go to somebody that's the exact opposite of you.
Yeah.
And there is a method to,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna get a little bit spiritual. There's a method to this demonic setup because when you see them, as you were just saying, when you see them go to the exact opposite, you wonder and stuff. They're not like me. They're 360 degrees different from me. Then what is it that and I'm lacking that makes you have to go after somebody that's different? So then now I got to see what I need to modify or change to be in some spectrum or some way like the people that you keep going after portraying me. And so you use the word gaslight again. The gaslight is making me think it's in my head something is wrong with me. Something is missing in me and stuff. And so now my efforts is trying to find out where's your mind being one and your action being a one away from me to somebody else that's not like me. So what do I need to do to change or what's not good enough to keep you and stuff? So now I'm investigating myself because now I got to find out now what I need to change. And sometimes if you're not careful, you wouldn't like that. If you're not careful, you start trying to find who this woman is and try to investigate what she's like. And all it does is gender more hatred. I'm not. No, that's not you. I'm just saying.
absolutely.
Huh?
I did,
Oh,
yeah.
did? Oh Lord, Jesus, Lord, forgive me. Okay.
It's okay.
That's okay. Okay.
But that.
Yes, of course.
You know, I hear you guys' conversation, and what we gotta realize is, in our race, a lot of times men raise themselves,
Mhm.
and what we bring to the relationship, and it's our fault because we make choices.
Mhm.
What we bring to the relationship is the same way with our parents. Our parents took us as far as they could go.
Mm-hmm.
So what we bring to the relationship is, we bring to the relationship as far as we can go. So a lot of times, if we don't make up our mind to change, we mimic what has been carried down for
Absolutely.
years.
Absolutely.
When my daughters got boyfriends, I want a relationship with them too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Where's
Absolutely.
my phone number? Where's your phone number? And not so. I remember my younger daughter. She just got married last Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, and I cried because I knew I was giving her away to a good man.
Wow.
We went in Popeyes one day, and unbeknownst to me, they take turns paying for each other's meals. So she ordered the food and pulled out her debit card. Ho. I said, we ain't got no sugar daddy here. Sugar mama here. What's going on? Because see, this is what fathers have to do.
Absolutely.
Is to step in
Absolutely.
and find out. And you can't make sure that everything you know that's
Right.
going on. But there's some things that's in front of our face.
Absolutely.
And me, I question.
Absolutely.
And then the two of my daughters that got engaged, you know, I never seen it before, but the men came to me and asked me for my daughter's hand in marriage. Why? Because I put that out there, that these are queens, and they're to be respected. And not to take anything from what you've been through, and I'm sorry about that, but what we gotta realize is, we've been a broken race for a long time. And if the church don't step in the community, and teach our young black men how to be husbands, how to be fathers, how to work for what you want, how to budget, how to save, how to tell your children you love them. This was so much strange to me when I got married, and nobody never showed it to me, but I made sure that I passed it down. And I'm sorry you went through that, and it's sad. But what's even sadder is in our generation, the young black men and what it has handed down to us. And honestly, it's like trying to build a brick house when somebody ain't gave you nothing strong.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's good what you guys are doing because we need that in the community.
Absolutely.
Very, very much so.
Yes. You know, one of the things that he said that we talked about on last week, and that's one of my thoughts is that I'm glad that another man has said this, is that whoever comes to my daughters, I want a relationship too. I want to be in it. The thing about my daughter here, when this young man did come to me, and he talked to me and stuff, but he didn't want to follow through what his responsibilities was, and he didn't want to grow up. And you said something that we use the phrase sometimes. There are some people that don't want to live above the raising, rise above the raising. They want to have an excuse for why I'm not this, why I'm not that, and why I'm not this. And I think and I think that's why it's important. The subject, because she first encouraged us in our heart about this, and confirming that same thing that you were just doing, is that we feel this is important. That young men, young women understand what a real relationship is all about. But let's get you healthy enough to be able to discern it, feel it, build it before you go back in it. Because there are a lot of people out there that want to get married, they want to be in relationships, and first they don't have a good one with themselves. They don't have any kind of relationship with the Lord. They won't allow people to mentor them and stuff. The templates or examples that they had. And I said this about maybe 10 years ago, bro. I said this in a church. I said, everybody's angry with men because they're not good fathers. I said, but let's go back and understand that some didn't have templates. Nobody. There are sometimes in some families where nobody taught a man how to be a man. But they taught him how to be a boy. And you know how, when we was growing up, you could hear the older men on the streets telling boys, man, go and get that woman. Get as many women as you want. Don't let no woman tie you down. And you think, man, okay. And this grew up in our black generation where nobody ties you down. You don't really be committed to nothing. You don't really be tied to nothing. If she won't give you what you want, you don't talk to her. You just go get another one. And so you just throw her away and stuff. And I believe that's why it's important. The subjects like you're talking about, the subjects like you're talking about, the subjects like we're talking about is let's keep teaching this, because we as a black race can't continue to say let's get more rights when we don't have a relationship. We can get to a place, we can invite a man, we can get a black man in the White House, but we can't get along when we're in the same house. So that doesn't equal freedom. What equals freedom is that those who are in this common race learn how to build each other up and learn how to grow from there. Sister Roger, you have the end up.
Well, I was saying I did pretty much like Sister Tony did. I started calling around.
Yeah.
I wonder what you like and why you like you more like me. What's on me?
Right?
I wasn't talking to her.
I did.
No. She said no. She said you said you were talking to her because
I didn't. I wasn't.
You just started trying to find who the girl was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did all of it.
Did you?
Yeah. I fucked with her too. If she got smart, I wasn't mad at you at first. I wasn't mad at him, but now you want to get smart, I'm mad at you too.
Now she going on her territory, going in her space, and because the girl get defensive, she made her.
Yeah.
Do you see? But do you see what toxic relationships do to us? Toxic relationships will cause us to not think reasonably. We're smarter than a toxic relationship can make us act like we even surprised with our own behavior. Have you somebody maybe listen or someone, have you ever did something from a toxic relationship and you think back and say, that wasn't me. That was not me. If I had thought and felt like that was not me. And stuff. And that's why it's important for us to, okay, now we're past these relationships, or we're trying to develop these relationships. And if we know that everything is not together, let's do what we need to do to make ourselves healthy. Don't go into, listen, the worst thing you can do is, I don't know if anybody ever chicken catcher, been around a chicken catcher. But when the chicken catcher comes home, he's full of, his clothes is full of smell of ammonia, full of smell of what their chicken house smell like and stuff. And one of the worst things they can do is not have a mud room. You know what a mud room is? A mud room is at the front of the house, kind of disconnected from everything else, where you get to take off all the stuff that's dirty, and you get to go through the house and you don't care what you got out from the outside into the house. What we need to learn, what we have to do with these teachers are mud rooms. So you're able to peel off all the stuff that makes you not a bad entity in any kind of relationship. Then we learn how to heal ourselves and learn how to be valuable first to ourselves, and then we can be valuable to any other kind of relationship. Because we don't need people to make us better. We need to make ourselves better for people. And when we do that, y'all, we can be functional in relationships. You writing something down?
No, it was a thought that I had, and it was a series that I've heard on television talking about how sometimes the mentality of the black man came down from slavery, whereas they, could not literally bond with a family, because at any given moment they were moved from this place to another place and given to another family to breed, so to speak, to have children with this woman, and then move from that one and go on to the next one. And sometimes you can see almost that same mentality in some men. They move from family to family, from woman to woman to woman, and have all these children, but with no connection. How prevalent do you think that came down from? How possibility do you think that mentality came down from slavery, whereas they can do this here? And it seems like, as a woman, you think to yourself, you should have a natural connection. But there are some men that don't have a natural connection with children, and a natural connection with this woman and that woman and this woman and that one. Got 16 kids and 8 mamas.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe in some degree that slavery might. What's wrong with you?
Because there's a word for
Oh.
or.
Oh.
It's a what?
I believe that slavery to some degree might have had an impact on black men in general. But brother said something back there that I really believe, and we've been using off and on, is that choice. When I came to my family and stuff, my father was not around. I had a stepfather that drank. Him and my mom would fight. I mean, they were. I remember a couple of times where they'd be out in the front yard fighting. I've seen my mom. We'd be in a car, and my mom and him be chasing each other around Lewis, and they'd be swinging around the roads. We'd be on one side, then we'd be swinging on the side. In the back, nobody's selling in the back. We should have been at the car, and so we would ride around. They'd be chasing each other. I've seen her. She throw lye on him. I'm not talking about where. Stop it now. They were fighting. They would get into fights, and my dad would call and make promises, and he would never follow through. And I became real bitter. I honest to goodness, I became real bitter. I trusted nobody. I didn't want to hear anything about any kind of father figure, father example. I didn't want none of that. And the only thing that saved me from not getting in trouble and stuff, real bad trouble, is sports. I became involved in sports. I met some coaches that were. Matter of fact, I had most of my black coach, Coach Collins, coach everything that I played in. Wrestling. He was out there at track. Football, he was out there. He was everything out there, and he became my mentor and stuff. And he helped me to understand what it meant to be a responsible black man. Didn't get it all yet, because then I came to church,
But it took you having to submit to a mentor.
Yeah,
because there's some young men that are so hard
yeah.
and angry that they won't submit to a mentor.
Well, I'm not saying I don't get this mixed up, and I understand what you're saying, right? But it wasn't that I submitted to him. I watched him.
You watch that, right?
You know, because I didn't trust enough or knew enough about what this meant to be able to submit to him. I didn't learn what this meant until then I came to church and got saved. When I came to church and got saved, then I understood what this mentor meant, what it could do for me. Then I submitted to him. But before then, I just watched it. You know, I didn't trust it. And he did something one time. His mom had to go to Philadelphia, so she had to catch a train up in Wilmington, and he asked me to take her up there in his car and stuff. I had nobody from anybody that trusted me with anything like that, and I'm thinking, man, I don't know what train at and stuff. So you know, but I told him, yeah, I'll do it, but I don't know where that train stayed. Before then, I had never been to Wilmington. You know, I've been in Rehoboth, but they ain't got no train station in Rehoboth. So he said, so I went to the house, went by the house that morning, and he had one of these push button cars. You know, where you push the button to start it and stuff, and it was shift on the steering wheel. Well, I just barely knew how to drive them. I got practice because we had a Comet. Wait, did we go out there yet? No, I haven't been out there yet. Because we were living out Shady Nook while I learned how to drive there. But anyway, I in my mind all that night I was practicing how to shift this wheel, how to shift this car. Got up that morning, went up, got dropped off at the house, went over there and stuff, got in the car, started her up with that push button, shift those gears, drove up to Wilmington. Went right to the train station, dropped her off, and when she got in the car, I was scared that I was gonna get lost. But I made my way on back, and I thought, man, this man trusted me with an important part of his life. And so I was starting to understand that there's some choices that that somebody was making towards me. I had to make some choices for me. So many years went by, and I got saved, and I got saved at Pilgrims and stuff. Well, no, I got saved before then, but a couple of times. But that's when I understood what mentoring was. But I had to submit to it. So now I had to make some choices. I had to make some choices that if I was going to make my life better, no wasn't an attack. No wasn't an attack. It meant grow up, taking responsibilities. Sad part about it is that sometimes in this generation, people in our black generation think no means I don't like you, you're being rejected. No means come on, let you take some responsibility and make some choices for yourself going forward. So it's not yet finished. We cannot say enough because children come from this. Wives that are no longer wives come from this. Husbands that are no longer husbands come from this. How do they function in life? How do they function in society? One more question to him before I close. I'm going to ask you. There may be times after when somebody separates from someone and they're no longer in a relationship, and especially when children are a product of it, is how do you now deal with those children who, if they would or if they didn't, or if somehow come up, that they start asking for their dad? Act like it.
Right, tell them the truth. I don't hide anything from my kids. If they have
Right.
a question and I can give them an answer that's for their age,
Right.
then I give it to them.
Right.
Just have to tell the truth because I don't sugarcoat things with my kids because if I sugarcoat one thing, then I can sugarcoat something else.
Right.
I just rather them give them the truth because I feel they're mature enough to have it,
Right.
and then we can go from there.
Right. It's a balancing thing. This thing is not just I'm finished. It's not just I'm walking out. It's a balancing thing. And I just think, and I'm going to close on this. I think that these kind of teachings will be beneficial for the church as a whole. You know, it's okay. We got young men hiding behind keyboards, but are not successful in life. We got young men hiding behind the pulpit, but don't know how to talk to themselves outside the church. We got people who come to church together and stuff, and they shout and dance and stuff, and they're not functional or healthy with their own selves or with their own community. We have to bridge that gap. We have to do our best to make sure that we're in a healthy position. Listen, let's put all the black people in authority. Make sure they're healthy in that authority. Make sure that they're just not. I'm gonna say something. I hope everybody don't get upset. A black angry person in a place of authority is not a benefit to the whole. It's a shipwreck. So we need us healthy. So when we're in place of authority, we won't try to escape from what we think is hurting us, but we'll go back and heal the places that are hurt. when we were there. Amen. Listen, God bless you. Thank you. Hope somebody was blessed by this. Hope somebody was encouraged by this. Please share this video. We will be back. We're going to do another one in a couple of weeks because I think it's beneficial. I think it will. Oh, jeez, I just messed up stuff. I think it will help. Oh, there we go. I think it will help. Amen. God bless you.